Well, hey everybody, this is Jared Malott, and I'm here with my friend,
Mateo Calis.
and this is the Coltist episode 29, the Joseph Addai episode. Uh, Quickly, while we were doing research here to totally steal the thunder, uh, Joseph Addai went to LSU. He's from Houston, Texas, and won a BCS national championship at LSU, and also won a Super Bowl with Colts. And that's interesting. That's not very, that doesn't normally happen for a guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember he was like my first like NFL experience was with Madden 11, and
Okay.
Joseph Addai was with the Colts back then, and he was like I believe he was like an 86 overall, 87 overall, but I used to run like the only play I ran with him was halfback wheel, and it was like an automatic. I played on rookie because I honestly didn't know the rules, so I just halfback wheel all the way to die. That was the only
Yeah.
thing I could do. That was my first experience with the NFL in particular.
Huh. So it's a good to get back together
Yeah,
after a little bit of a layoff here. The Colts, after an outstanding start to their offseason, if we gotta sort of pat ourselves on the back, um, and then really been kind of quiet until really recently. Obviously, today I believe, is it today or yesterday? Was Jim Irsay's birthday?
yesterday I believe.
Was it yesterday? So
Yeah,
really, the Colts did sign Efidi Odenigbo, a defensive end, which is going to be like a backup to Yannick Ngakwe, is what I
yeah,
gather at this point. Probably going to see the down here or there to spare the guy some gas, and the guy I mean Yannick Ngakwe. And then yeah, Colts just wrapped up their sort of mini camp.
Kenny Moore was there after the contract dispute,
Yeah.
which was nice to see. I always tend to side with the players on that one, but
Yeah.
I just don't understand the point. Like, you signed the contract, like, and they gave you like you are making what is he like among the highest paid nickel cornerbacks in the NFL?
Sure, I think he was like top 30 at his position.
So yeah, like I just don't understand, especially after no disrespect to Kenny, who's a great player, but
Hmm.
the timing was a little bit off considering like he got torched against the Raiders.
Hmm.
He got torched against Jacksonville. We lost both those games. We were out of the playoff. Like, do
Hmm.
you really believe this is the best time to bring that up?
I think flatly, uh, for a moment there, they were talking about the Colts secondary. End quote. You know what I mean? Otherwise, there was nothing coming out of the Colts for the better part of a month, brother. That's all I'll say. Like, I'm never gonna pocket watch. I'm never gonna judge a player I'm never gonna say that was bad timing. It's get your money, boo boo. You got to feed your family. I'll never say a word about that. All I will say though is, hey, if Kenny Moore hadn't bitched about his contract, what else were they saying about the Colts for the last month? So it was like, welcome. It's all attention. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. He probably didn't even get it. I guarantee you, Chris Ballard called him and said, "What the fuck are you talking about? You're getting paid, son. Show the fuck up, and play your ass off, and we'll talk about money." That's what I think really happened, because you ain't heard a peep since. And that all my only comment is, damn, they were talking about the Colts secondary there for a moment. You know what I mean? Otherwise,
Yeah.
it's been really quiet. I would hand wave the hell out of that if I was the Colts as an organization. Like, I'm not even gonna let that be but a blip on the radar. Good for you, buddy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
If he ends up getting paid, I'm happy for
And
him.
he honestly, yeah, he really deserves it. He should be paid like he is a bargain at this point. I believe he's
Mhm.
making something like 8 million a year.
Sure.
That for a guy for his level of play is a bargain.
Hmm.
The contract
Absolutely.
runs to next season and the next and like two more seasons. He will be 27 when it ends. He'll probably get like a second big payday then. So I'm like, just like, I get you. You want your money. You want to, especially in the NFL where you can suffer like a big injury at any given time. So you want to get paid. You want to secure the bag.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, couldn't you have waited like at least another season, or like, I don't know, just stuff you talk about when you have nothing else to talk about,
Exactly. That's what I'm saying is, and I'm gonna sit on it. You know what I mean? Like, man, I don't even care if it hadn't been, the only other thing that they really talked about the Colts secondary the whole offseason, how Stephen Gilmore picked off Matt Ryan once, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, they've had a pretty quiet offseason. That secondary has to cool off, right? Because obviously the expectations are high, and we're talking about, man, it really feels like the most loaded Colts team I could remember in a while. Oh, I did want to make sure I pointed out, because like people had reached out to me and said, hey, would you talk about the Colts a lot more? One of the things I've noticed about Matt Ryan, when you do get to watch what little you get to see here, he's super slender.
Yeah.
And I think it's an asset, because ultimately that 1 yard of movement that sort of like looked at as the minimum you've got to be able to do as a quarterback, you got to be able to shuffle one way or the other in all directions about a yard. As slender as he is, with a tight throwing window, he's going to be able to get his passes off. So I'm anticipating a lot less quarterback hits. And because he's slender, he's going to be a lot more risk averse. And I look
Yeah.
forward to an offense that doesn't get hamstrung on those 3rd and 7s, that just completes that pass and continues to move the ball down, matriculate the football down the field, right? The obvious thought process here is you just hope Matt Ryan's arm holds up, but I just don't think that there's a lot of, how do you say that? Like, obviously he's throwing the ball hard, but I just think he's going to play a lot longer at a higher level than people are prepared for here. And when you look at the Colts, every time I see like a ranking that comes out, the Colts are flirting in the top 12 of a lot of people's rankings, which is sort of outside looking in terms of the playoffs. And they've just been here's what I'll say going into a lot before a lot of this happens, right? Like your actual training camps and stuff. The Colts have been beating the right teams along the way. They have been, barely above 500 or 500, but they've beaten
they've beaten some really good teams
that you wouldn't expect them to beat along the way. And one of the things, you have to be able to win games you should win, right? Like that's part of being it, in the getting to keep your job is winning your division. And I feel like the division's prime to be taken. And if the roster continues to strengthen as it has, they could hold on to that for a few years here, because like I said, I don't see the same levels of talent at all levels that I do when I look around, just the AFC South specifically. So I think that could be one next few years anyway. It's ripe for the picking. And then the Colts have been competing with the best of the rest in the AFC, and even beating those teams. So it's not, I'm certainly would want a lot more film to be able to watch to tell you how I feel this team is going to compete with the likes of the Baltimores and the Kansas Cities and whatever the hell else
the Bills.
the NFC master, manages to hook at us. But yeah, a lot of lately talk about the Colts possibly adding another wide receiver. I think I'm trying to remember if we had talked about Julio or TY on the pod.
There is. You also have, I believe they could add like a guy like, Odell Beckham.
Yeah.
Jarvis Landry, I believe, is also still available.
He signed with the Saints.
Jarvis Landry. Damn, the Saints had a nice offseason.
Yeah, they did. They just don't have a quarterback, right?
Well,
Jameis.
I do have some faith in Jameis. I honestly believe like he was.
How's their line?
Okay. They lost to Ron Armstead.
Yeah,
Did
see.
they lose Yeah, his last name is also really hard to pronounce. Did they lose Ryan Ramsey? Uh, you know the guy I'm talking about.
Yeah. I don't know, but that was kind of one of the things I was thinking about when I saw that they were going to lean on Jameis is like, hey, would love it if he had a really good looking O line. I just don't think he does. Yeah, I mean, I get there's some players left. You're going to have to suffer some attrition before you spend money on a veteran at this point with the young
Yeah,
roster that you have. You're going to have, lately I've been thinking, I don't want to underscore the violent aspect of football, and I also don't want to overplay it. But I've begun to think of it as sort of this personnel management as it refers to football, like a war of attrition, and how ultimately with this little mini camp, you don't mind guys griping about. I don't want them out there flatly.
yeah,
The more valuable an athlete, the less likely I am to even do anything other than just be like, get your money, buddy. You're at least you're not out there getting hurt. Um,
yeah.
it's hot. It's hot as fuck here in Indiana, to be frank.
Well,
Uh,
what's the temperature like there? We're just
uh,
entering.
so I think I saw, and keep in mind, I work from home, so I'm very fortunate, obviously, to work from home. And so I'm out probably like every hour and a half, 2 hours during the day. With the sun directly on me today, I think it was probably a little over 90 degrees and super humid. I mean, it feels tropical. Um, so yeah, it was definitely right around 90 degrees today, but it's only supposed to be hotter the next 4 days.
Yeah,
Um, and obviously that's Fahrenheit. And but yeah, I mean, it's the doldrums of summer, right? I believe that's what they call them. Um, I'm glad the Colts are off, by the way, this week. This week, I'm glad they were working last week. I wouldn't want to be out
nah,
there.
yeah, you don't want that.
So I think here we are, middle of June. I think what are we about 5 weeks away from training camp? Is it the third week of July?
Yeah,
About 5 weeks
that's
out from
when it
training
usually
camp.
starts. Yeah,
Yeah. And like I said, there's never a ton of mini camp film. You really don't want any of it out. You're only going to show flashes here and there.
yeah. You
But
only show the good stuff. You won't show like
nah,
it's
you're
common
never gonna get
sense.
it from behind Matt Ryan's head. You're never gonna see formation, motion, none of that stuff. So there's not really that stuff to talk about. I'm trying to think of anybody other Darius Leonard had surgery, and apparently, okay, so people don't understand that like a neck or spine injury can affect other parts of your body. And I think you'll find this funny, by the way. I just thought about this. I think people that are having a hard time understanding Darius Leonard having what was it, neck surgery?
Yeah, neck surgery.
And the problem was that his ankle was just sort of going dead, right? Um, which they fixed with neck surgery. People have a hard time. So let me explain it to you. So I'm a disabled Marine Corps veteran, right? And my shoulder's all fucked up. So my shoulder hurts all the time. And I can't feel the fingers really in my right hand. It feels like I sat on my hand all the time. Well, for 15 years now, and I feel stupid because I can see myself. I'm on camera right now, right? For 15 years, I've thought that the injury to my right shoulder is directly impacting the ability for me to feel the fingers in my hand. And that tracks, right? That makes sense, right?
Yeah,
I have a right shoulder impingement, numbness in right hand, but it's actually not connected. So I had all the work done where they were like, no, bro. In fact, I went to a physical therapist. They finally ordered, after 15 years, by the way, they ordered a physical therapist. And I go to the physical therapist and she's doing like range of motion and push on my hand and pushing my hands. And she says, you know, you got pretty good range of motion in your shoulder and pretty good arm strength in your shoulder. Will you lay down? And I was like, sure. And I laid down and she went behind me and put my head between her hands and pulled my neck a little toward her. And I could feel the fingers in my hand. So what she did was she went back and looked at my medical record. And the first thing it says, it shows that frontal x-ray is in my chart. And it shows a dislocated rib. And I was actually told when I was in the Marine Corps, hey, you had a dislocated rib, by the way. But that's kind of how it was told to me. Hey, you had a dislocated rib. So obviously, and haha, funny, obviously we're going to have a conversation, the VA and I are, about them not treating a neck injury for 15 years. Right.
Yeah.
But, along those lines, think about that, how she's there plying on my arm and going like, what, why'd they order physical therapy? Will you lay down? And she pulls on my neck and now I can feel fingers in my hand. Now, of course, my fingers still go numb and shit. So I would need that it's called an adjustment regularly, in order to get like some sort of long-term benefit where I could actually feel the fingers of my right hand all the time.
Yeah.
But hopefully that illustrates for people how you could I just iterated it for you as another person that that what, like, yeah, man, his ankle apparently like it would lock, right? And then now you got surgery, and apparently he's going to be back and better than ever. And I mean, got to have him kind of player, right? And when I can imagine he had a pretty good season last year, all things considered.
Yeah.
And I can imagine that defense with him consistently healthy. And again, I hate to pound that table, but as someone that very recently was playing football, those small tissue injuries and injuries
they kill you.
They could be pretty debilitating mentally. And obviously the Colts have taken an initiative on mental health. And I think those two things are connected because, right, one of the things we've talked about for years is the Colts have been like a snake bit. Maybe we haven't, but it has felt like for years the Colts have just had debilitating injury after debilitating injury to key players. Or obviously I guess I'm sort of forgetting and or underselling the loss of Andrew Luck to a franchise, but yeah, it is kind of one of those things you as you get farther along in like organizational development, you'll advocate for mental health after you go through some of your, I would say, like more highlight prone players, like a Paris Campbell. Think about what a Paris Campbell does for any quarterback capable of hitting him downfield, right? Like could have absolutely been the difference between, and again, we're talking about things that didn't happen, but his availability, is paramount. And that, I don't know if we've talked about that on this podcast, but that's kind of one of the things I took away from that interview with Eric Ebron a few years ago. Could have said anything right. And really what it came down to is the best ability is availability. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
It's that's why I'm, again, sort of literally hand waving the whole Kenny Moore asking for a raise now. Ask for that raise, baby. Gas is $5. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't. The only thing it did was put the Colts in the news. One of their Pro Bowl players wants to get paid more money. Cool. They were talking about the Colts for the. You know what I mean? I sit in my office with NFL Network on all day. Here's a big. I think it's a big piece of news. Darius Butler is on Good Morning Football. He was on today and he's on tomorrow. And he's a gem. You know what I mean? He's a great personality. And then it was cool. I haven't listened to he has a podcast called Man to Man Podcast. So definitely look it up. He's buddies with Pat McAfee. And then so today, Darius Butler did Good Morning Football. Then he had his podcast. And then he went on Pat McAfee's show. And had been basically on a Zoom all day, basically sitting on a Zoom all day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and today I had at work, I'm doing continuing education. So I have licenses that I have to do credit hours for. Like mine's 24 every 2 years. So I have to literally take time from work to renew my licenses and 600 plus pages of notes typed out, by the way. So I've had a lot of time to sit here and take in content that I don't normally get to keep up with, like a daily, like a Good Morning Football, or to see
Yeah.
listen to Pat McAfee's podcast. None of that stuff. Just happened to catch some stuff today, but always good to see former NFL players getting a shot in the media. I don't know if you follow basketball at all, but
Yeah.
the former players like JJ Redick are sort of a breath of
Yeah. He
fresh
was.
air
Yeah.
from the
Yeah. I don't
hot take
really.
artists.
Yeah, I don't really like the Stephen A. Smith, the Skip
Yeah.
Bayless.
Mhm.
I really like the Shaq and Ernie and Charles
Mhm.
Barkley. That's really cool.
Yeah.
But Skip Bayless just throwing out outlandish takes on TV to get the clicks.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
That's one of the things I've always
It-
prided myself on. Like I've had a podcast for years and you've never heard anybody say like hot take artist. You know what I mean? Like, oh, saying shit to get clicks. You know what I mean? Nobody's ever gonna say that about us. And in fact, they'd say we're boring, but I'm just a realist. Like, do I think that the Colts have enough money to pay Kenny and possibly make a roster move that matters? Should a guy go down? Fucking no. So why are we talking about it? We don't have the money for that. Like we have the money to pay a player should an existing like contributor go down. Ideally, we have like one move to make. I think you could be more shrewd than that, sure, but that's what I feel like we're in the sort of holding for. We have the money to get a guy if we need a guy, and I'm guessing they're gonna hold pat until they need somebody. That has to be the play, right?
yeah.
Because at this point they've committed additional touches to what's Buddy's name? The running back that they've basically
Naheem
got,
Hines.
Naeem Hines. They've got him split out as wide receiver in this little mini camp, and they're committing a bunch more touches to him. So if you really think about it, that's going to stretch touches thin on that offense anyway. They're just being a realist about it, because again, I feel like a lot of the Colts content I take is so hot take-ish, right? We're trying to like get the whole community to bite on some shit when it's the hardcore reality is. Am I wrong, or am I coming off as like an asshole about
Not
like
at
I
all.
just don't feel like we have the money to
No, I know.
restructure Kenny's contract and then make a move. I don't
No, I just
not one that moves the needle anyway, right? Like another one of these shrewd pickups, sure. But again, is that winning you a Super Bowl? No, I think
no.
if a guy goes down, then you can make a move and it could still lift you, right? That's kind of where I am with a lot of these free agents is you need them to come in and be a spark, but only if you need it. You know what I mean? Like it could absolutely be a negative thing. And I think that's part of the reason they haven't made any of these moves. It's not, again, I don't think it has anything to do with like TY being a cancer in the locker room.
Nah.
It's just you gotta have TY ready to rumble. You know what I mean? Like he's got to be good for 10 plus games. I think in order for me to spend money on him, and I would rather have somebody do that then make a move now. Like again, I'm not going to step on anybody, but we've had conversations with our colleagues about other potential wide receivers I think the Colts would sign. I don't think we need to do that yet.
Nah, yeah,
I
not yet.
think sit pat here, let everybody rest up and get prepared. Um, I kind of feel like people have been sleeping on the Colts for a long time. and it's that's what I would kind of sell them, is these kids, like, hey, obviously get better every day, take care of your bodies, just try to
Yeah.
stay alive. We're just trying to stay alive until training camp, and then we'll see what we got.
Yeah, just stay healthy.
Yeah.
Avoid like I don't
Skiing.
particularly remember any. Yeah, that's the only stupid injury in the offseason I can remember for the Colts. But usually, they
uh,
take good care of your body.
yeah.
One thing I don't want to judge the timing, but why did Darius Leonard have to have the surgery like 5 weeks from training camp? Couldn't he have it like say March, April?
Do you want?
Like, what's the deal?
Well, I just told you it took him 15 years for the VA to send me to a physical therapist,
Yeah,
thinking
but
maybe
when
it's
you're
his arm.
like when you're paying a guy like what are they paying him like? So
A lot of damn money, brother.
he signed an extension, right? Like it's
Yeah.
75 million, 80 million, and you just that it's like what the fuck happened there? It's like probably the defensive leader of a franchise, and you're just like, well, at least it was not like during training camp, but
Yeah.
he's. I mean, Reich said he should be ready to go come week 1, but you just, you're just like, couldn't this have
Well,
been
I don't.
dealt
Well, I
with
don't
earlier?
want. Well, I don't want a player like it. Just like with Kenny Moore, I don't want a player like Darius Leonard on the field until it matters. So, I mean, I don't. There are certain players that you'd love them. Like you'd love your offensive line to play every down together for years. That would be outstanding. It'd do wonders for your win percentage. You'd love to have a quarterback that always available, plays every down. Um, Personally, a slot receiver or tight end that are always available, every down players.
Yeah.
Obviously, like your number one, your Michael Pittman Jr.'s to stay healthy all season. That'd be ideal. But players like Kenny Moore, Darius Leonard, you can fucking name them. I don't really give a shit at this point because we have so many position players that are stable that guys like Kenny Moore and Darius Leonard, shut the fuck up. Get away from me. I don't want to see you until those refs are people we can actually scream at about their jobs, them doing a terrible job, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to, we're not playing in preseason, so you can hang that shit. You know what I mean? They ain't playing no way. You know what I mean? Let them get their name in the newspaper for a while, shelf them. They can play come regular season. And it's not necessarily like you want to, well, it is 100%. I want to get my fucking money's worth. So that's how I would treat a lot of my special players, especially like a Pro Bowl defensive player. Man, you ain't running into anybody until it matters, brother. You know what I mean? That's kind of
Yeah,
how
no
I
need
look at
for
it.
it.
So it's like let him take as long as he wants. If he thinks he could be ready by the opening day, perfect. He ain't playing anyway. That's the way I see it. You know what I mean? I'm not putting him on the field, letting him run around. I'm not letting him hit one of my guys and strip one of my guys and fuck up their confidence, right? So no, he didn't wait too long. He waited the perfect time. Expects to be ready by opening day. I dig it.
Yeah, that's the only thing you need.
Sweet timing. Yeah. But what else has been going on? Oh, I seen Reggie Wayne and Cato June going at each other. I always think it's funny when people say UM, because it's the U, right? For Miami. I'm a Miami fan,
Yeah.
so everybody got to remember that. So they posted the Colts social media account. It said 2 UM players going at it, and it had Reggie Wayne. I'm like, who's the other coach for the Colts that went to Miami? And it was Cato June. I'm like, he was a linebacker in Michigan. Like, what the fuck are they talking about? And I'm like, oh, I mean, I guess
Yeah, they were like playing
University
with
of Miami.
yeah.
Like, it's a little loose. But it was funny. Basically, both teams are capitulating right now. That both Michigan and Miami's programs are on the rise, or elite any, you get it. Top say 15 programs in the country right now. So to have coaches come from those programs, obviously you'd love to have a good connection with those big landmark programs. But yeah, what else you got? What else you want to talk about?
Well, yeah, we basically covered everything for the Colts, like
Oh yeah,
at least until next thing is training camp, right? Like until training camp, we don't have
pretty much.
rookie minicamp, perhaps. Like, isn't there like a rookie minicamp before?
Oh, yes. So it'll be. I'm guessing that's after the week after the 4th of July.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe
So
we
you
get.
you have the rookie minicamp there, then training camp, and then the preseason's right around the corner. It's like,
Mhm.
what is it, like 2 months away? Like,
Yeah.
from having football once again, it seems like forever.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you think. So I think about 2 months from now is when I'm thinking mid-August is
Hall of
preseason, or
Fame
first
game.
first week of September, right? Right? Isn't that when the regular season usually starts? If I remember correctly, the season started September 4th last year. So that's why I was kind of thinking like
Yeah, because you have
max 90 days.
September, October. Yeah.
Max 90 days out. Yeah. I'm not trying to rush Darius Leonard back. No. So yeah. Let's call it a night. It's been pretty quiet since we had this, nothing's broken at this point. So hey,
Yeah. So
there's not a lot. Like I said,
no
I just
news
don't
is
think
good
there's,
news.
yeah, no
Right
news.
now, no news is
Hey,
good news.
exactly. Um, and I, one thing we've done a really good job about is not making any promises we can't keep, right? So obviously we're thankful for anybody that's listening to our shit, but the hard reality is, I think with an off-season schedule, it's better to just say like, hey, we'll try to get another pod out. It's just I want to wait until there's stuff to talk about. Otherwise, it's kind of
Yeah.
just flirting with nonsense. And I don't ever want to be like a gotcha pod, I like to talk about some real
Yeah.
shit.
No. Yeah. Yeah, I get it.
I don't know how you feel. I mean, obviously we have like a good time and I love what we're doing, but it's like why make it
Yeah,
into,
you need to, like, you need to have something to talk about.
yeah. Otherwise you're just getting on here and saying the same shit over and over. And it's just like, how enthralling is that, But anyway, yeah, we certainly appreciate anybody listening to us. Just a short little podcast here. Make sure you follow the podcast at the Coltist on Twitter. You can follow me at Likely Alien, and have a great week. Stay safe out there.
Hopefully, no more news for the Colts for the next like couple months.
Yeah, nobody else asked for a pay raise. Dear God.
Yeah. So
Or dues, because then they'll be talking about us. You know what I mean? And
yeah, just
give
do or
them
don't do
something
what
to
you must.
talk about.
So yeah, man, it's been great. Have a good one.
Take it easy, brother.